As Christopher Green, AMTV, Alternative Media Television, global governments have set up a totalitarian dictatorship based on the ruse and guise of the coronavirus to create an environment of extreme isolation and then, of course, propagating fear using the mouthpiece as a state-run mainstream media propaganda that makes up CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC. This is being used and targeted as psychological warfare, not just to you tuning in, but also children in America that no longer understand why they can't go to school or they can't go to a park or a playground or meet and enjoy free time with friends. Otherwise, they might be infected by what the U.S. government is saying is a deadly, virulent strain of the coronavirus, which has properties based on some assessment of an HIV delivery system. And what they have told us is a high kill rate. But instead, we only have, 50,000 people that are dead, and it's acting and behaving much more just like a flu. Again, there are 1.35 million people worldwide that die in car crashes annually, not to mention other problems, diseases, illnesses like cardiovascular health, etc. By the way, Kim Jong-un allegedly is dead, if it is to be believed based on the reports of the mainstream media, and or he is in a vegetable state, a vegetative state post a cardiovascular operation. Now, I've been following this story closely. Again, that's if you believe that. I've been following this story closely because you're not getting all the information. My first thought was that this potentially could be an assassination attempt, either by U.S. interests that have tried to civilly negotiate with Kim Jong-un and potentially reunite the northern and southern state, or could be China, based on your own critical thinking and investigation to potentially establish a puppet leader that might be more friendly to the growing Chinese interests. And so we've been following that. There's still not certainty or clarification whether or not he is dead or not, but notice we're having a geopolitical shakeup and a military move in this part of the world during the quote-unquote war that Donald Trump is fighting against the invisible enemy and an alien virus. We also have a comet, which is coming, and various celestial events in the sky. I've talked about Project Bluebeam and the intention to project a false god of which Christians, Muslims, and Jews, and all people from every country around the world will be duped into believing that this is the Savior. I believe that person is here now. I had a vision from God. That's what my dream was about. It was a vision like a lightning bolt, and I believe he will show his face soon. And that person in that face will be a technologist. It will bring about a new world order, a global government, which is happening now, and eventually will sit on the Temple Mount and ask to be worshipped by all. And we read about in the Bible in Revelation of the 10 horns, and then of the second with 2 horns that will support the first, a spiritual leader of some kind. I believe that, and I know many Christians will argue with me, but again, that was my vision, that we are in tribulation. Now, the tribulation has begun. I also want to talk about some trends of the new economy. Maybe some of you can take a lesson from some of this and maybe even look at it advantageously, as opportunities are limited, as we've seen in all businesses that are not essential shut down, which means any small, medium-sized business by and for the people has been shut down. But any big tech monopoly giant, large mega corporation, big bank, not only is receiving bailouts, but they call that essential services and allow them to get richer and to gain even more leverage over the American people as they build a super Hunger Game state of the future. Jeff Bezos' net worth rose $25 billion just in the last couple of weeks. All the big banks have been making more money trading using their algorithms, and of course, as a subsequent direct consequence of the bailouts from you taxpayers, of which they're monetizing, destroying the dollar and printing it into infinity so that it makes the dollar and what was known as the petrodollar and our current currency absolutely worthless as they engineer a hyperinflationary collapse. So what are some of the main trends? Well, one of the biggest trends is going to be online learning as people are social distancing. They're questioning the value of college, which doesn't assure a job or a career, only assures massive debt. In fact, Harvard A multi-billion-dollar endowment received tens of millions of dollars from the American taxpayer in bailouts in this last round of funding from the U.S. government. I mean, isn't this insane? A billion-dollar endowment and a university receiving bailouts while they close down the system to the general public, small, medium-sized mom and pops. So online learning, this is one of the reasons why, of course, I established BitcoinRich.com years and years ago. It's the largest academy for blockchain in the world with over, I think we have like 35,000 students now worldwide. I teach the basics and fundamentals about crypto, blockchain technology, Bitcoin, how to profit, how to increase cash flows. By the way, this is the environment where it's very reasonable for you to pick up an additional $3,000 to $5,000 in cash flow each month as a result of the trading opportunities. In fact, many of my students have done just that. If you take a look at the charts, take a look at coinmarketcap.com or bitcoinrich.com, you'll see that we've been in rally mode since Bitcoin hit about $3,500 in the charts. I've personally been a buyer. I've been making several trades recently that my students have been following and mirroring, and it's created really great profit opportunities and profit-taking opportunities. Also, as we are paid to wait with other investments that pay a yield. Some of my investments pay 6-7% while I wait as I secure it at no bank. It doesn't matter if the big banks fail or the big banks receive bailouts or the big banks have bank runs. I'm still getting paid to wait with the currency that I actually control. Now, again, this is completely different. I encourage you, click the link below, join us at the Academy, learn these fundamentals and the basics. You don't have to be a technical analyst to understand this. It's just like e-commerce or the internet or social media platforms. You can all do this. You can all create cash flows. And we do have a special offer today where you'll save $50 off by clicking the link below today only. We also have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there truly is no risk outside of just learning something new and then working with our very vibrant community and building upon some of the business opportunities I'm sharing with all of you today. We also see the schools of our kids closed where they're being forced to do Zoom meetings and they're not allowed to go to parks. So the whole school system is being shaken up, private, charter, and public school systems. Another industry to be on the lookout for is the health and wellness industry, things that help you maintain physical and mental health. And also the supplement industry is a very, very big business right now as people are worried about their health, the coronavirus, and building immunity to these types of viral infections and diseases. Also, mental health industries are really big right now. People are struggling with the isolationist measures and are struggling being at home, not being allowed to date, having to properly socially distance 6 feet from people, and really no end in sight as we see lockdowns extended at least until May, and I believe will be quasi-permanent lockdowns and extensions well throughout the end of the summer, minimally at least until August. And I think it will be a game changer. See, the bottom line is nothing will ever be the same again. Nothing will ever be the same again. Your life has changed forever, and this was all engineered and pre-planned. And they're using this alien virus as a Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam type event. By the way, I'm getting a lot of reports from a lot of you that said you saw multiple series of dozens of Starlink satellites from Elon Musk or one of these other industry tech titans in recent days all across the country. Sightings in Montana, sightings in the Midwest, sightings in Russia for many of you, sightings from European nations as they roll out 5G, which I've discussed ad nauseum in years past, is a declassified military weapon. In fact, I'll put a link in the box below. You can learn about this for yourself with the Defense Task Force declassified materials put out by 4-star generals here in the United States that warn about things like targeted weapons, EMP technology, coronal mass ejections from the sun, and how what we're looking at in phase 2 is a total grid down scenario, which might be the reason we're all in our homes, to be honest with you, where there is disruption to sanitation, food supply, medicine, and all the things that we are experiencing right now. By the way, we're seeing meat suppliers shut down, Tyson Foods closing, the meat manufacturers and processing plants shut down. That's all engineered. And guess who stands to profit? Those that have invested heavily in synthetic, fake meat. People like Bill Gates that own huge stakes, along with Richard Branson, who's also begging for a bailout recently. The billionaire who owns Virgin Galactic has been begging for money because he's such a humanitarian and he needs that money. He doesn't have enough. Are invested in companies like Beyond Meat that create synthetic meat, which is really just the Soylent Green equivalent we've read about in our Nightmare 1984 novels, that of course will offer the alternative nutrition at low cost and high margin to all the peasants that they will be socializing. And that's why they are sending massive amounts of money at least what they had opened up. Some of you have received, $1,000 checks from the government. Most of you haven't, but those that you've had, some of you have emailed me and said, Christopher, it just makes me nervous because I know that they're hyperinflating the dollar, that this is the Venezuelization of the United States of America. Another reason, again, I teach incessantly about Bitcoin at bitcoinrich.com, alternatives that are deflationary, that you can't print from nothing. Same goes for real estate to a certain extent, although that's a highly leveraged asset and will continue to fall in this environment in the short room, but also a short term, but also goes for gold, precious metals, which is also why I'm in that business personally myself. There's going to be a massive disruption to financial services, a growing trend for automation, AI, the merger of man with machine and the singularity, and to basically destroy all of our humanity as they socially isolate all of you tuning in into a virtual reality of entertainment, Netflix, Hulu, mainstream media, propaganda, and video games. Not to mention increased alcohol and drug consumption so people can escape the tyranny of overall a complete seizure of your freedom here in the United States of America and worldwide that we've grown accustomed to as a result of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which of course have been suspended. Can't enter stores without a face mask, can't go to the beach unless you're walking or doing an activity, you can't sunbathe, but they'll allow you to go to the grocery store and touch what other hundreds and thousands of people have touched and coughed on, allegedly. Makes no sense, but of course there's an agenda behind this, and it's not supposed to make sense. It only makes sense in the context of the totalitarian tiptoe of absolute control and dominance of the world elites as they establish a new world currency built on the back, more than likely on Libra coin, which is Mark Zuckerberg's invention to work with central banking and to extinguish all alternatives as they wage war. This is what you need to understand against other cryptocurrency technologies like Bitcoin. This is a absolute war. So we see automation, machine learning, robots, look at Amazon warehouses, and a disruption in supply, not to mention record unemployment with 26, 27 million unemployed, soon to be likely 50 million in this country if we hit 20% unemployment, soon to be 100 million if you account for people that are marginally unemployed or who have been furloughed part-time and that have lost income. We also see opportunities in delivery services of food supplies. I think the businesses that deliver takeout from restaurants that are still open or that will provide some kind of medical services to homes as people, again, continually to socially distance and socially isolate. This creates opportunities. Also, you can think about online dating as people aren't dating in human form anymore. They're going to have to do all of this online because all the bars and restaurants are closed. You can't go to a movie theater. You can't go to a sporting event. We're even seeing this with churches as they broadcast, as my church is doing today. And I'm going to watch in a minute an online broadcast. As we've read about this in the Bible, we would not be allowed to worship in our churches as we were in the final and end times. Also, we can look at other opportunities in software and entertainment, all business meetings being conducted on Zoom, for example, e-commerce solutions, which have been absolutely huge, selling online, which has been huge for years, over the last 11 years, subscription services like Netflix, Apple, Hulu, or maybe your own personal subscription service that you could roll out. Maybe you're a personal trainer, and now that you can't train people in your studio, you could do that online and offer some kind of subscription training program. Also, we're going to see a huge shakeup in banking and finance, real estate automation, the loss of all real estate agents, insurance agents, all jobs in these categories, title and insurance, as they move to absolute automation and virtual real estate sales, cuttings of commissions, and basically a just markdown and discounting of all these traditional third-party broker-dealer type services that are not needed in a world of totalitarian control of a few monopolized billionaires that will just take over like Uber does, lose money, raise tons of venture capital at a loss. Jeff Bezos did the same thing. And then when they finally monopolize the industries, they'll raise prices and fire all their employees. And this is what happens in a non-free country with no regulation and no antitrust laws that's been allowed to create the tyranny that we, the people, have allowed because no one's spoken up about it or done anything about it. Also, new digital currencies and the elimination of cash because they say it spreads diseases like COVID. Medical supply sales, services, face masks. I know people making face masks, selling them online. Online medicine, not going to doctors anymore, but doing it virtually. There's apps like PlushCare you can use on your phone. In fact, I got my last medication treatment for, I had a cold and I had congestion. and I had some phlegm and these kinds of things, so I ordered that on PlushCare. Didn't have to go to a doctor, and again, it is another social isolation type alternative to the current environment they want, not to mention virtual reality, video games, and all those kinds of things. We also have a growing trend for de-urbanization, right? The move away from cities, land, water is valuable, gardens. This will be a growing trend. You're growing your own food, moving companies, prepping, survival, bunkers, and relocation services will only continue to add significant value as people flee very, very dangerous cities of the rich that can afford it, and then everybody else that can't, that lives in the slums, like the movie Hunger Games and predictive programming, must move out to the cities and join in with their families to survive the economic and guaranteed certain depression that we are currently in, of which we will not recover from for decades and will quickly surmount in a world crisis, world war, global shakeup, and establishment of a new government, new order, new UN-backed military, new currency, and total new political system, which is shaping up now. Also, debt consolidation, businesses, industries, bankruptcy proceedings, restructuring loans for companies. And also, I'm not saying these are ethical businesses or not, so I would stay away from them, but like payday loans and loan sharks also are opportunities, as people won't have cash, and the banks that receive the bailouts are now cutting credit lines to their customers because they don't want to take on added risks. Entertainment, gaming, social media platforms, online casinos, content creators like myself that create content. This is the perfect time to build a base, to create content online, because again, as you're socially isolated and stuck in your home, there's pretty much nothing else to do. Virtual reality, sporting events, also food shortages, I've gone over that, will continue. Fake meat, synthetic food, alternative nutrition. Many restaurants, bars will continue to fail and will face bankruptcy in the coming months due to social distancing measures, lower capacities, and vacancy rates as they have to separate tables, can't have as many people in a bar or restaurant. And so eating out will become a luxury for many of you tuning in, and probably the same with travel restrictions and international travel and even cross-state border checks. Of course, remember, 2/3 of the economy are service-based industries. Those will all fail. Those jobs are not coming back, and these businesses will be operating at limited capacities, probably 50% as less, the ones that stay open and don't declare bankruptcy. Also, there will be a direct impact in transportation, those that do drive Uber and these kinds of things, as people are not traveling. Many will continue to lose their jobs. Self-driving cars will again tie into the surveillance state social credit system of no freedom and decision-making based on AI, based on your social credit, where you can go, where you can travel to. Gone are the days you can get in your car and just drive out to California. Gone are the days you can just take a road trip, right? Those days have passed, and it will be controlled by the state as a result of COVID. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is big tech has taken over. Big banks, total monopolization of your life, lack and destruction of freedom. I've been talking about this for years. Fake food, synthetic food, alternative foods, and nutrition forced by the same people that are also developing these vaccines, along with Big Pharma. Digital currency, their system, not Bitcoin, not what I teach at my school. Bitcoin is a libertarian, freedom-fighting digital equivalent 1776 technology based on blockchain, limited supply, very deflationary, a decentralized network of computers based on absolute certainty and math, total transparency and confirmations. I teach all this at my school. This is how I create added cash flows, trading myself for my own portfolio. My students do this, and they're starting brand new businesses utilizing this technology. Not to mention kneecapping the too big to fail bailout banks that don't want us talking about this tech, because again, it threatens their sovereignty, totalitarianism, and if they can't control your money, they can't control you, which is why they're going to move to their own digital dollar, their own creation basket, Libra or SDR backed type currency of the future. Isolation expected to continue. Expected disconnectedness from people, a lack of humanity, a merger of man with machine, robots, the AI, the Antichrist. What is the beast system? The emergence and the actual face and revealing of the Antichrist, as I saw with this celestial event. More celestial events, more comets on the way. More sightings in the skies, more revelations of UFOs and these kinds of things. as the elites rebuild society for them, only the rich, only the billionaires, only the elites, to create their idea of a utopian civilization, which actually is dystopia for everybody but them. Again, this has been projected, predictably programmed in the mainstream media for years. Hollywood movies like Elysium, wasn't Matt Damon in that? I think Matt Damon, and others. A mega Hunger Game environment of the elites and an engineered, pre-planned wealth transfer that we will probably never see again in our lifetimes, which has all been very, very successful as they now encroach on all of our liberty, all of our tyranny, medical mandates, and roll out basically as we sit prepared in isolation for phase 2 of the events that are about to transpire. World war, continued geopolitical shakeup, more events and transition of power figures like Kim Jong-un and others, shakeups in the Middle East, a revoking of the petrodollar, and the introduction of what they will create as a brand new alternative, in their view, will integrate global society to a much more Orwellian control system, social credit, and all these kinds of things. I'm Christopher Green. I want to hear what you think in the box below. Let me know of other things you might be thinking about, trends in the future as we're pushed even further into totalitarianism here in the USA and worldwide. Also, I encourage you, look at these alternatives. Join us at BitcoinRich.com. If you're not doing anything today, you got to be proactive and disciplined in this environment. You have to take control of your own mind. You've got to be optimistic. You got to start new businesses right now. You've got to think outside of the box. You need to do online educational learning platforms. Again, you'll get $50 off today only. Also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. You're going to join an amazing network of students. I work with a lot of you one-on-one at school. I've been doing this for over a decade. We're just getting started. I believe we're going to hit new all-time highs in Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin could likely hit 100,000+ this year, not to mention the various other alternative investments, technologies that I review, educational type material that you'll discover at school, which will only empower your mind, your mindset, but give you the tools to be successful, to succeed in this environment, to serve God, to provide for your family and your friends, and create an infrastructure as we hunker down to weather a massive, massive storm that has now shut down the entire world into isolation for a prolonged period of time. I love you guys. I want to see you at school. Click the link below. God bless. Jesus Christ is King. And I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful Sunday.